A chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, John Mayaki, has called on Nigerians to start expecting the gains of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's today's summit to the new Global Financing Pact in Paris. In a statement on Saturday, Mayaki said President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his 3-day trip to France, met the President, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, who said it would be a mistake for the bank not to invest in Nigeria after considering 6 greatest potentials for economic investment. Mr. President also met the chairman of the Indorama polyester industry, the largest independent polymer producer in the world. The president also got briefings from the president of the African Export-Import Bank, who assured Nigeria of more support now that the new policies are in place. In addition, the president received briefing from the president of the African Development Bank, who addressed the investment of over $520 million in the agricultural sector, and the AFDB president also talked about vision of setting up a youth entrepreneur bank in Nigeria that will provide credit, skills, and other support for young Nigerians. Within the 3-day of Mr. President's trip, he received executive of Airbus ATR and assured them that the aviation sector will be streamlined for efficiency, and the senior vice president of Airbus /ATR, Lawrence Domega, in return assured the president that the company was prepared to invest in the aviation sector, particularly in supplying planes to Nigerians. There were also bilateral and economic meetings with the president of the Swiss conference and many others. Mayaki indicated that the Paris trip was all about marketing the country to attract investors. But the big question and the big story for today is, how will this trip and other steps taken by the new government help not just to stabilize the economy, but help grow it? Is what other steps are needed for further taking this administration to the vision to grow the economy that is almost grinding to a halt? Well, this and more as it concerns the recent step of Mr. President as it concerns the economy is what this edition of The Big Story is all about, and that is President Tinubu economic policies and resetting of an ailing economy. And that's what we're having as a major discuss today on The Big Story. We're looking at not just that trip he went through in the last 3 days, but also some other major policies and statements he has taken on account of the economy, and look as if it will definitely help to bring back an alien economy. Well, that's what we're looking at and taking focus on the center stage today on The Big Story. And to truly help us talk about this is no other person but our own economist. And we're talking of no other person but Mr. Gideon Oguns. Good morning, welcome to the show, sir. Good morning. Well, anyway, it's a meeting he went, and the meeting many really had a lot to talk about. And as much as we will now look at some of the measures he has taken on account of the economy, I would really want us to first start with that very meeting he went for in Paris and all that transpired. And well, indeed, you will agree with me that his new policies seem to be getting a whole lot of attention and expectation from the Nigerian business climate and also international partners that are beginning to have maybe a rethink towards looking at our economy. But like I said, let's go first to his visit. Now, look at that visit, and I want you your thoughts on the trip and what you think Nigerians stand to gain from that his trip.
Okay, once more, thank you so much, Mike. Nigeria is suffering economically.
Okay.
And like any good human being, if you are having a challenge, there is this normal norm or statement that says a problem shared is half solved. All right. So here you see a TINUBU administration understanding that we are in crisis. And he may not be the only person in terms of policy, direction, wisdom, and all that. So going out there to a forum where finance is the subject matter, how to grow, improve. So he being invited, being given the podium to speak on is a plus.
Okay.
I remember in that statement, one of the statements he made, that any attempt by the financial improved world to ignore Nigeria will be at their own peril, because we are a market. We have the market in sub-Saharan Africa. So if you don't engage Nigeria, you don't plan Nigeria into your own market, your finance that you want to boost will dovetail. Now, that is like somebody telling you, come because I have. But if you check it from the other flip side, it's actually saying, if my economy in Nigeria is going to do well, then people must bring in foreign direct investment. And so he went there talking about people, about where and how to carry Nigeria. Okay. So I think it's a win-win from that meeting.
Your thought is that very meeting is in the right direction.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Now I'm pretty excited about one of the take home from that very meeting, and that's the investment of about $520 million into our specialized agro-processing zone by the African Development Bank. Now, tell me, as Nigerians, how can that really help transform an agricultural sector that is in urgent need of total turnaround? And do you even see these really helping out? I'm talking about the investment.
Beautiful. Now, Mike, it will shock you that if you go through the books,
yes,
the greatest employer of labor in Nigeria is agriculture. Yeah. So if there be anything done to improve on agriculture, then 3 headed monsters will have been dealt with. Food security, unemployment, inflation. At one beat, just one right stroke.
Okay.
Ensuring that agriculture is given its prime place.
Yes.
You have dealt with 3 things. Then you come to the other problem of Nigeria, which is on revenue.
Okay.
If there are specialized export processing points for agricultural things, and they meet the standard for them to be exported, then it becomes an additional plus, because the revenue from them will boost the entire economy. You come to the manufacturing sector, the raw materials most of our industry needs come from agriculture. So you can go on, and you discover that the real way, and Nigeria is so blessed in terms of agricultural abilities. We have the land, we have the water, just name it. We could do so much. So if that such a fund is properly channeled and the goal attained, because the joyful thing about it is looking at the youths.
Okay. So
if the youths actually, who are the unemployed, who are the digital generation, who can bring in so much into the improvement needed in such a sector, I tell you, if we get it right, we'll have so much.
But another major question I want to ask on that account: $520 million. Is that not too small in investment? Would that just be a drop in dealing with the agricultural problems in the sector itself?
Mike, come from the point that can Nigeria on its own raise a $520 million and put it into agriculture? The answer is no.
Okay.
So if somebody says, I want to help, no matter the magnitude of the help, and it's properly channeled, you are the one helped, because we already have a revenue problem. Now, I also believe that the FDB, if they see the progression, the yields, the tenacity by which the government,
they might be further investing.
They might be. And even others, you have, for example, the FAO, all right? They will begin to come in. Others who are just docile now, seeing that something have happened, a little seed that was sown, 520 million, and it's generating so much, you can be sure they will come in.
Okay, now let's, for me, I want us to still remain with this Paris trip, because it generated a whole lot of controversy also, as much as it had generated a lot of interest. And I want to understand for you, what will be the talking point of these visits? And I know the drama that happened with Okonjo-Iweala and all of that. Well, it's still a drama I know you like to talk about. But for you, what will be the biggest takeaway of this very Paris meeting or summit?
My biggest looks at is more on the flip side.
Well, let's flip it.
Even though the process by which Bola Ahmed Tinubu was made Nigerian president, 32% of Nigerians are those that said yes to his presidency.
Yeah.
The international community are not treating him with disdain.
Okay.
They are giving
on that
him
account.
Yes, the right place, the right audience, the right ears. And that tells you that it is actually not the hood that makes the monk. The people who, if you go back to the electoral reports or the international observers, you will think that the hula bulalu that came with that, he will be treated like an orphan. But just within 1 month, he's called to such important meeting where the key issues affecting Nigeria, I mean revenue, finance, is the subject matter. I think it's a plus for him. I just pray he keeps his head low so that greater ones will come.
Well, I still want us to remain with that very summit and look at the other flip side, like you would say. And the drama surrounding all that transpired with Okonjo-Iweala and the backlash, especially coming home, because more of the remarks seems to be back home here in Nigeria. And but I love the statement she said yesterday, and she pleaded with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to ensure he brings every Nigeria under his fold, especially as the reactions from Nigeria was a clear indication of that disunity, especially on account of that very election.
Mike, that's why you can't talk about this presidency without making references to his ascending of that throne.
Emergence.
He emerged out of a minority because 60% is greater than 30%.
Okay.
But the way our constitution is so structured,
winner takes
with you winning the highest lawful vote and a spread of 24 states.
Yeah.
So the man with the highest lawful vote, as far as INEC is concerned, have been declared.
Okay.
So what Okonjo-Iweala was said yesterday, which I also lead credence to, is the divide in Nigeria is still too wide.
Okay.
Such that at every little event that happens, the two forces, for and against, are always very loud.
And on each other's throat.
On each other's throat. So he should be a bigger father who is superintending a very large family. Because those who are for you are loud, and those that are against you are loud. So how
are you going to strike a balance
he does
and bridges that great disparity among both of them?
If you push it a little, it is not sufficient to judge him.
Yes.
But because this president is under a month, it's not yet even 29th. But if you check his antecedents now, for the appointments, which you can critically use, you discover that he has tried to steer Nigeria into the 6 geopolitical zones,
especially on security chiefs. Yeah.
So even outside security, you discover that the few appointments they have made, they are not yet up to 100. But you see the spread. The secretary to government from
the middle belt,
the chief of staff from the west.
Southwest.
You see him not trying to replicate where we are coming from, where some people actually felt alienated. So if he continues in this way of trying to ensure that at every pronouncement, every appointment, there is a sense of cohesion and not who are you, then we won't be able to cure it.
Okay, now, before we really dive deep into some of other major policy as taken on account of the economy, I'm really also keen on this very visit I had to Paris. And look at it. Do you feel the international community is now beginning to take us serious? Because if you really look at it, in the past couple of years, all we keep getting from them, they seem to be giving us a grim forecast of what the economy is, and they keen to be constantly bashing us that the reason why they think giving us that grim forecast is because of our economic bad policies, as they said. So we keep hearing that from the World Bank, from the IMF, and the whole lot. So do you feel now there's a new change in direction policy of the international community as it concerns Nigeria and our economic outlook?
Yes. I'll pick just one for time's sake. IMF. IMF have been a preacher of Nigeria streamlining their forex regime.
Okay.
Such that the margin between the parallel market and the I&E, or the official rate, it was too wide that rent seekers could take advantage of it.
And quickly make quick money.
Making sure that production was not driving who takes forex. So his policy of trying to narrow down that window is a plus for IMF.
Is that even narrow totally?
I want to be careful here because it's not yet meshed together.
Okay.
There's still some. But that does not remove the fact that there is nowhere in this world where forex is completely left in the hands of the market. So I think government will still come up somewhere trying to close the margin anyway, but ensure that certain services are still within certain range of the exchange rate. But holistically, IMF is happier that we have a government that is ready to do the right thing. Then you go to the petroleum subsidy. You know, IMF have been for more than 20 years saying that the subsidy regime in Nigeria is not sustainable. 2, it has become a sacred cow. So why keep it? You are complaining you don't have money. And 96% of your revenue, you are using it to subsidize. It doesn't make sense. So here comes a man from the blues and just, I don't know whether it was part of his speech.
Well, he said it was not included in his
he
speech,
just makes a pronouncement. And so we have it today. Thirdly, it was believed by the naysayers that if subsidy goes, Nigeria will be on fire.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
1 month down the line.
Well, the roof is not on fire yet, though.
So you discover that if you watch Nigeria from outside Nigeria, you begin to see that there is a sense of direction. There is a sense of responsibility. The leadership is trying to show. How far they will go is another kettle. But for now, they have shown that the things people have been giving advice to Nigeria on that have been the drain pipe
within a month have been implemented. Okay. So that's the reason why they seem to be taking us a bit serious. But it's a serious matter we need to talk about. But one, I'll plead with you to hold on first. Let's quickly go on the break. And when we come back, we'll continue to look at not just that Paris visit and visited, but other major policy drive and statement he has made. I'm talking about Mr. President and how that seems to would in every way reset an economy that seems to be on its knees and one that is really waiting for someone to pick it up. Let's go on a break.